Jazzcast Pros.
Hello, my graceful grinders. This is Dr. Pamela Brown-Grinion, President and CEO of Totally Unique Educational Consultants. And I have a wonderful guest for you today. We are going to be talking with one of my mentees, Dominique Perez, aka Dominance Dubai. She is a singer, songwriter, and single mother. And I thought that it would be great to have someone come on and talk about how does your life interact with trying to pursue your passions and all of the idiosyncrasies that single young mothers have to go through while trying to pursue your passion. So Dominique, hey, welcome to the show.
Hello, good morning. Happy New Year. Thank you so much for having me.
Happy New Year to you too. So tell us a little bit about you.
Well, my name is Dominique Perez. My stage name is Dominance Dubai. I'm a single mother of two and a singer-songwriter here based in Rochester, New York.
Let me just say, Dominique, she has some exquisite pipes. And when you listen to her, you just cascade somewhere else. Such a beautiful voice. So single mom, singer, songwriter. I would think that trying to pursue that type of career, I assume that would be, you would have some challenges, along the way, trying to get where you're trying to get still, aspiring to be on an international stage.
Well, yes, it's came with a lot of challenges. One of them being that I am a DV survivor.
Tell us what DV is, just for those that don't know.
Yes, domestic violence survivor. That's something that a lot of people don't know about myself. So that's, something that I've had to deal with being a single mom now, dealing with that trauma, and as well as Jeremiah's father passing away and, taking care of my children and also trying to set a career for myself alone has been very challenging. But that's something that I'm, pushing through.
Yeah, I could imagine that would be a difficult time having to deal with domestic violence and wanting to get out and not knowing how to get out and when is the best time to get out and how do you keep your children sane and safe at the same time. What was that pivotal moment for you when you knew you had to do something different? You knew you had to make a shift. Like, this is do or die. I got to do something right now.
Well, it's obviously, I want the best for my children. I didn't want them to be raised in that. It was something that happened for a while, a good chunk of our life. I suffered that for about 5 years. But ultimately, it was just my children didn't deserve to suffer and see that. And I didn't see how much it affected everyone, how much it was affecting myself. I knew that I was built for so much more than this. My God is a powerful God, and I believe that He shows you your path. He shows you how important you are. And, I'm a woman built in faith, and I'm a God-fearing woman. So there's nothing that I couldn't power through. And for a while, I just needed to see the light, notice that it was, piercing down on me, and be able to take those steps and realize that we all deserved better.
I'm so sorry you went through that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I really, really am, because no woman deserves to live like that. And I couldn't imagine 5 years of it, right? And look at you. You're beautiful, you're strong, you're standing, you're successful. I'm really proud of you. Let me just say that. I'm very, very proud of you.
Thank you.
Always been one of my butterfly babies. So, in saying that, in the past, you received some coaching and training from me. Mm-hmm. How did going through that personal development training, or did it? And if so, how did that help you to transition? How did that impact you, the coaching and training that you received from me? How did it impact you, and how did you use that to help you transition and during your difficult space?
Well, I am a lady, no matter what, no matter where, no matter when. So being able to be raised and, raised within that and channeling my divine femininity and knowing who I am and, having that stance as a young girl into a woman, you heavily instilled that in all of us. And you were the first person to say, like, my body is a temple. And, I know the way that you said it, but the way that I grasped onto it and held onto it, it morphed into so many things. Like my body, my temple, like I'm dealing with, such ugly things, as far as like bruises and scarring and cuts and the whole nine, and at one point in time it was just like, you know, I I've come from such a great upbringing, even with my family and much more with Project Butterfly. That as a young woman and coming of age, that was very important for me to hear and a lot of young girls to hear because, home life could look different for a lot of us.
Okay, so you received some training. We had our interactions. How old were you when you were going through Project Butterfly?
I would say about 14, 15. Yeah.
Would you say that you had a lot of examples or women that were in your life at the time that were giving you the things that you needed to pour into you to make you recognize this? Your body is a temple and that you're a lady no matter what, no matter when, no matter where. Like, what was your life like then when you first started with me with Project Butterfly?
So my mother has been a case manager for over, 17 years, 20 years. And she was through YWCA. And, she would take me to a lot of benefits and I would hear women's stories. And, they also helped with DV victims as well. And my mom, like, always instilled that in me as well. Like, much more than being beautiful on the outside, but being beautiful on the inside as well. My mom was a single mother as well of three, So seeing her and seeing her strength in that, and that being something that we suffered in the home as well, as far as like domestic violence. But she truly was and is she's a force to be reckoned with, and uh, yeah, and and then adding you on to onto that as well, like, I didn't have a lot of women. I have my godmother that, even with my music, like she has always, supported me with that, as well as my mom, my grandmother, she never left the house without putting on face, so it's like, and more than that, but and the reason why I pick on those things so much, like, I remember, I'll never forget, like, when we had our hands out, you know what I mean? And like you looked at our hands and talking about our nails and like little things like that. And like, I want to take care of myself doing my hair, because my hair doesn't look like this, you know what I mean? Like, naturally anyways, but like doing things that make me feel beautiful, because I think for a long time, within that time that I suffered with domestic violence, that I forgot that part of myself, and like, that needs to be tended to as well, because I have this beautiful burning spirit. And I say that humbly, like, I know that I have a fire that burns within me, but like it wasn't showing on the outside either. And like, it's not that I looked like, I didn't look like my worth, what I mean? And not saying that anybody who's presented is their worth, but I mean, like, in a sense of, with, not to be whatever, but like even this on my face, like the scars, like even around my mouth and stuff like that, like those are little things that I hold on to, but I feed into that divine femininity, knowing and speaking those words into myself, something that you showed us an example of, and speaking that positivity and knowing our worth, and like, and also helping me as far as like with my faith as well, like much more than the program. Like, you got me with, the Baptist church, and, I converted, kind of, I guess you would say, you know what I mean? I was raised Catholic, but I'm baptized Baptist, and you also feeding into my music and having me be a part of the choir, and like what that felt. And like my mom at a very young age had me in the church and with choirs as well, and like it was almost like redirecting me to that, and I think we all need that reminder sometimes of our worth and the talents that God has blessed us with, that, us triumph through it all.
I love that. So, what were some of the skills that you learned when you were going through Project Butterfly? What were some of the skills that help you to make that mindset shift into, I've got to get out of this because I need to save myself and my babies? Because domestic violence is not something that you just walk away from because someone hits you one time. Like when you're locked in with someone,
Yeah.
it's a relationship. Your lives are intertwined. You don't just say I'm sick and tired and I'm walking away. What were some of those key skills that you learned that helped you to fortify yourself inwardly, to reignite that fire in yourself that you learned when you were in Project Butterfly that helped you to transition out of your domestic violence situation?
There were so many things that we learned, and that you gave me so much more outside of the program, that like I can pinpoint a few. So, and I know that it may sound, just bear with me. So like with suck, tuck, and elongate, the
Girl, you remember sex I can eat long.
because I know those like minor things, but it's
Yeah.
how they morph.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking like there were some times where I would walk past the mirror and like, do it real quick. You know what I mean? Like,
Get that posture up,
you
girl. Get
know,
that
like
posture up.
sure. And like even walking into a room and like, remembering that confidence, and like even though that sounds like something minor, and it's much more than posture and something,
Presence. It's presence.
and also having a presence to be had, and that
Mhm.
was something that you can see on, the other girls, like when we were all like standing, like you can see their faces change, you could see a shine come out, and like, sometimes I would have to remind myself of that, knowing that there's a time and place for everything. At that time, the program was run, through Franklin, which is an inner city high school. And I feel like there was a lot of emotions that weren't able to be taught, like how to deal with a lot of the girls. Like we could have had better like counseling services, if you will, and like a lot of better like mediations and, peer advocacy, like, but you also brought that to the school, like, and girls were able to like, tell their whole life story to you and felt comfortable. Like there wasn't that at Franklin, there wasn't somebody that we can, speak about our day-to-day life, or, certain problems that we feel within ourselves. Like, and it was also a safe space. There was a lot of girls where, we're figuring out, like, a lot of girls were getting like periods, and like figuring out like with bras, and like figuring out with like undergarments as a whole, and like what we look well in. And that's something that I carried up into now, like making sure that with my time and place, like I want somebody when I go into a room to remember me, and I want to, have such a presence. And a lot of adults now even don't know how to be presentable or don't know how to carry themselves. It was as simple as that, like taking little things that every young girl should be taught, and being able to grow up with that and do that.
You are warming my heart right now. Just warming my heart to see from 14 to about to be 28. That's 14 years. And just hearing that you carried me with you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm no, really, because I know that this is my purpose. I know that this is also my passion, right? And so when I was giving to you guys, and when I'm giving to my other students or clients, whatever you want to call them, I give from my heart. I give you. There isn't anything that you can ask me that I'm not going to tell you. I'm open. I'm transparent. I'm vulnerable. I didn't hide my scars from you girls.
Mm-hmm.
And that gave you guys permission to also share your scars with me,
Mm-hmm.
because your scars help to make you who you are, right? You want to wish them away, but you can't. They're a very real part of you, right? And so just thank you for sharing that, because it's good to know when you're in this coaching and training industry, it's good to know that what you're doing matters and that it is helping and has helped. And I'm big on presence. I want to walk in the room and I want to make a powerful statement without saying one word. I still teach that to this day, Dominique.
And I think that was enough. You know what I mean? And I've carried that through with my life, and I just, remember reflecting on that. Like, there was such a multitude of things that it's hard to like pinpoint, but knowing my worth, was definitely instilled and helped with because of Project Butterfly. And not forgetting who I am every time I step into a room, despite what I've been through.
Exactly.
I wear my scars, but I wear them proudly.
Absolutely.
Being able to know that I deserve to be here.
That's right. That's right. You do. You do.
Thank you.
You do. And in any space that you show up, you were supposed to be in that space, right? It's just so amazing to me that when I'm standing in front of a group of young ladies, I don't know the impact that I'm going to have. All I know is I have these babies in front of me and I got to give them something, right? And at that particular time, all I have is me, right? And so I have to give you what's in me. And I can't stand in front of you and have all of this knowledge and wisdom and experience inside of me to help you become more polished, to build your confidence, to help you to heal from those scars, from those wounds emotionally. I'm just so thankful that God gave me the gifts that he gave me to be impactful. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that. So you've gone through these two difficult scenarios in your lives, your domestic violence for 5 years, the death of Jeremiah's dad. You're a single mom. You're trying to build your singing career. You want to operate in your passion because that's what God gave you to do. Those are a lot of things to juggle at one time, right? At some point in your life, I can speak for me. When I was going through my tumultuous times in life, I wanted to quit. I thought, why is this so difficult? If I am supposed to be doing this, why is it not happening? Why aren't more schools picking up Project Butterfly?
Yeah.
Right? Because if it had that impact on you, right?
Right.
Why aren't more schools saying, Dr. Pam, come in and, work with our babies? Because it sounds like participating in the program had a lasting impact on you.
Yes, it definitely did.
Right? Like it changed some elements of your life, right?
A lot of girls as well, like
Yeah.
it was a very sensitive time for girls growing up. And, I know that the second year that there was so many, girls talking about it the first year that they wanted to join the second year.
Yeah.
The change in character in such a positive way and having such a great influence in that, and again, like, home life looks a lot different for a lot of people. So, in this time, like, girls just want somebody to relate to, look up to, and in those moments. And they're in it's so far as just like basic needs, how young girls should be taking care of themselves, even with, their period, even talking about different ways of being comfortable with bras and like undergarments as a whole, which I think is a very important thing. And sometimes, kids don't feel comfortable in school to, talk to the nurse about that, or the school counselor, or the school just doesn't care enough. Like, you brought such a love and light, and even with what you were teaching us, even with like, I could go to a black tie event, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
all my spoons and my forks going inside and out, and the practice conversations that we would have with our tea parties,
Mhm.
and being such distinguished young ladies, and feeling, and girls love to have that idea of what they'll look like as a woman, and
Mhm.
you were able to create what I would want for myself. Like, what did that woman look like, 10 years ago, you know what I mean? Like what I had in my head and, the things that I thought for myself. And don't get me wrong, like a lot of things that I planned for myself didn't turn out the way that they liked, but the idea of me as a woman started channeling through those tea parties, through our meetings every week, being able to talk to each other and having certain topics, and even dealing with at home life and what was in class. I think that was a very important part too, that it wasn't just so structured, like we felt like we had a place in there, and we felt like we can speak and feel freely, as a woman and as a young girl, which I think is very important to find, sisterhood within that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm I could cry right now, Dominique. Like you are, I can't even tell you. Wow. I mean, I'm literally, I have goosebumps. I can feel every authentic word. And I thank God that you don't look like what you've been through. I thank God that I don't look like what I've been through, right? And when you can stand up in those spaces and still shine despite your emotional scars. And that's where the suck, tuck, and elongate really, and that learning presence, because sometimes you got to fake it till you make it. Sometimes you got to show up emotionally jacked up, but it's showtime and I got to get on stage.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
and when you can go inwardly and just say, let me just pull out my presence.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just get my posture together.
Mm-hmm.
Let me fix the countenance on my face, like intentionally. Even though I'm sad on the inside, I can shift it like that because I've learned the skills on how to present myself,
Right.
so that, it's time for me to do whatever it is that I got to do. Right. And I'm so grateful to be talking to you about this, and that you are such a premier example of why personal development coaching and training and learning etiquette and manners and polishing skills and learning how to shift your mindset on why that is so important, even at an early age. And because I did Project Butterfly and I saw the impact, I knew it was impactful. I actually did my dissertation on how does participating in etiquette focused programs impact girls of color during adolescence, because that's what Project Butterfly was. It was a program for young girls during adolescence. And I saw it working year after year after year. And I was so disappointed when Franklin closed, because we helped a lot of girls, in that program.
Yeah.
We helped a lot of girls, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now here you are, this beautiful blossoming singer songwriter, right? Still trying to get where you're trying to get, but you haven't stopped the grind, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've had a lot of life experiences. Life was lifing, is lifing. How do you make this grind look so graceful? Give us some tips on how you use your personal development coaching and training to help you make this grind look so graceful. Just give us like 3 tips.
I mean, honestly, a good bath with some Epsom salt will do it.
Because I did teach you how to have that self-love, honey.
And that too. And it's as simple as that. Having, a night to date myself, read a good book. I'm actually reading if he if he had been with me. So like, as simple as that. And also knowing that pampering myself is something that needs to be done, but not feel like a chore. Thing that, is loving to myself. I need to show love to me too. So in simple ways like that, cooking something for me, something as simple as, because it's Friday, I just grabbed some catfish yesterday, so it's like, it's as simple as that, making sure that I'm tended to within, well as, praying about it and asking God to send me these signs, and, knowing within my faith that I could just trustfully fall right onto him and seeing where that turns out, just taking those times, like even tonight, you know what I mean? Like it's a Friday night, time to wind down and, read a good book, take a good bath, put a candle on, but, also making sure, like I said, that I'm tended to and that I
Yeah.
love myself enough to take that time
Yeah.
for myself.
Thank you so much, Dominique. Again, I just can't tell you thank you enough. Thank you so much for being here. I'm sure that your conversation is going to help other young ladies that have gone through domestic violence and other single parents. Just, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So much for having me on here, and just thank you for blessing me with you. Like I'm just so blessed to have you in my life, and God makes no mistakes, and you have truly been such a great role model and just a great woman to lean on and have in my corner. And I appreciate you so much and everything that you've done for me for the past 14 years. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, my graceful grinders, that's all we have time for today. Make sure you tune in. Please share this video with someone that may need it. Leave me a comment, because if you don't comment, I can't respond. And let me know, what type of material you want to see. I thank you so much for joining the Grace and Grind podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Pamela Brown-Grinion. And until next time, and always remember to create your totally unique day on purpose.